Viewers beware, you're in for a scare. It's time for my ghost stories. Hey there, Halloweenies, it's Black Metal Werewolf making a brand new video for my October month. And as you probably have already guessed, this video is going to be about ghost stories. Now, anybody who knows me personally knows that I've always been interested in the paranormal. Things like cryptozoology, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, UFO sightings. I've been interested in that kind of stuff since I was a little kid. I'm always buying books about it and looking for documentaries about it so I can, expand my horizons, learn more about it. But when it comes to the subject of ghosts, I've always been very skeptical. Mostly because ghosts aren't something physical. Whereas if someone were to show me a videotape of Bigfoot or a plaster cast or a videotape or a photograph of a UFO, that's something that can be held and can be analyzed and determine if it's a fake or if there actually is something going on here. But when it comes to, ghosts, a lot of times it's translucent pictures or most of the time just eyewitness accounts. And a lot of times those things are not very reliable, especially when people say, I saw it, I know what I saw. A lot of the times you don't actually know what you saw. It's all, people's memories get mixed up, they change over time, they forget things, they add new things without even realizing it, not that they're making it up. Even though there are a lot of people who do make up a lot of shit, and a lot of hoaxes are what bog down the investigation into the paranormal. Because there's so many hoaxes, a lot of people just dismiss all this shit as fake. There have been plenty of times where people have actually been killed faking Bigfoot things. Someone put on a ghillie suit once and ran across a highway to make people think they saw Bigfoot. Idiot got hit by a car, fucking killed. So yeah, there are hoaxes. People a lot of times don't know what they saw. It's a lot of times you don't know what it is in front of you. So even though I'm a very big skeptic of ghost stories, there are a few things that have made me sit there and question, like, is something happening here? Because a lot of times when I hear a ghost story, I can usually dismiss it. Someone will be like, I bought a new cabinet and the door opens on its own. Really? That cabinet you bought from IKEA that has like 8 missing parts and you probably built wrong, that door won't stay closed? Yeah, it's definitely ghosts. That's it. Ghosts. Not that you're a shitty craftsman or that it's a shitty piece of furniture. It's ghosts. So a lot of times I go for the most logical explanation, right? I don't always just jump, oh my god, ghosts. But like I said, there are some things that have scared the hell out of me, and I don't know what it was, and I cannot think of a logical explanation. So I want to give you 2 ghost stories from my experience, and one that I've been told from a former coworker. It's a very creepy story that she told me. I don't know if it's real or not, but it is something that is very scary and makes me think. So ghost stories are always very fun. They're fun to tell at Halloween parties, around a campfire, on a dark and stormy night when the power goes out. So who doesn't love a good ghost story? So like I said in my past videos, I used to live in a very small farming town. There really wasn't much for the kids to do. It was mostly populated by old people. No arcades, no hangouts, no malls, no nothing for the kids to do. So on Halloween, my friends and I were hanging out, and we wanted to go do something. We were too old for trick-or-treating. We didn't want to just hang around and watch movies. We'd done that 1,000 times. We wanted to go out and see something actually scary. But since we live in a small farming town, like there was no haunted houses, no big attractions, no amusement parks, no nothing. So we thought maybe, there's some like urban legends we can check out. So we thought about all the urban legends of the town, and we decided on one, and it's the story of Buck Hill. So in this town, there's this old road called Buck Hill Road. And the legend says that hundreds of years ago in the pioneer days, there was a guy who lived there with his daughter in this cabin that has been, decrepit, torn down by now. He lived there with his daughter, and one night during the winter, there was a really bad blizzard, and his daughter wandered out of the house. And when he realized that, he grabbed his lantern and he ran outside looking for her. And they were both calling for each other in the pitch black snowstorm, but neither of them could hear each other, and they couldn't find each other, and neither of them were ever seen again. No trace, just completely vanished. So the story goes that if you go to Buck Hill at night, and you get a girl to yell, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," his lantern will appear in the forest looking for his daughter. So we thought, one of my friends has a girlfriend. Let's grab her. Let's go head up to Buck Hill and see if we can find the ghost. So we drive up to Buck Hill and we convince her to start yelling because she was terrified. Because every girl I've ever met believes in ghosts and is terrified of ghosts. So we had to do a lot of convincing to get her to actually yell it. But she eventually did. So she yelled, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," into the woods. Nothing. So we thought, are we missing something here? So we're like, do it again. So she yells, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," again. Still nothing in the woods. So like, okay, we'll do it one more time. And if this doesn't work, we'll pack up, we'll head home. We'll take this Halloween as a loss. So she yells one more time, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And that's when it appears. We saw this small flickering light in the woods. We didn't realize what it was. We thought, maybe it's a firefly. But then we thought, it's Canada, it's October, it's very cold out. I can't imagine a lot of bugs would really be around, especially fireflies. So we ruled out fireflies, and the light started getting bigger. It stopped flickering, and it became a solid orb, and it started getting bigger. And it came to about the size of a softball. And so we started freaking out. We're like, what the fuck is this thing? And then the orb started moving through the woods, back and forth, back and forth. And this is when we started getting nervous. You're like, is this someone with a flashlight hanging out there? Flashlights usually produce a lot more light. If this is just a solid orb just standing there. And it started coming towards us. And that's when we freaked the fuck out. And we're like, okay, we don't know what this thing is, and we don't know what it's going to do when it gets to us. Everyone in the car, we're getting the fuck out of here. So we got the hell out of there, and we went to my friend's house, and we were like, what the fuck did we just see? Did we actually just see the ghost of Buck Hill? So we went online, and we looked up, has anyone ever done anything like this before? And it turns out that I'm surprised, because I thought this was like a small town legend. I didn't realize this is actually other people have heard about this from around the world. It turns out that paranormal investigators have actually gone to Buck Hill before and videotaped this before. And I'm really kicking myself for not bringing a camera. But if I ever go back to my hometown, I'm going there again, and I'm bringing a camera, and I'm getting this thing on tape. I have no idea what it was, but it scared the hell out of us, and it really made me question what it was, and do ghosts actually exist? So for my second ghost story, this one dates back to when I was 19 or so. At the time, I was living with my parents, so I had a room in the basement because I like to have my privacy down there. And as you can imagine, a basement room in a Canadian house during the winter gets pretty damn cold. So I'd have to sleep with some very big blankets just to keep me warm at night. I remember once in January, middle of the night, I was just sleeping as I normally do. For some reason, I just woke up and I just shot up out of bed, sat straight up, and in front of my television in my room, and between my chair, there was a little girl standing there. And it was so weird because I didn't know what the hell was going on. Like, am I awake? Am I having a bad dream? What's happening? I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel afraid. It was just, very curious what was happening. So I looked at the girl and I said, "Are you cold?" And she nodded her head yes. So I took my blankets and I threw them on the ground in front of her, and then I just immediately fell right back asleep. And a couple hours later, I woke back up because I was freezing. It was so cold in there. And I was like, where the fuck are my blankets? And I woke up, and both of my blankets were folded and on my chair in my room. And I was like, what the fuck? Was that a dream, or did that actually happen? So it's not a very scary story, but just the fact that, was it a ghost, or was it a bad dream mixed with sleepwalking? Did I throw the blankets on the floor, then sleepwalk up, fold them, and put them on my chair, and then go back to sleep? Or was there actually something kind of weird in my house that night? Thing is, I've never experienced anything paranormal in the house before. My parents never had. My brothers never had. There was nothing spooky. So it's one of those things that I can't fully say that, yes, it was indeed a ghost. It was just a very weird story that I don't really know what happened that night, and I can't explain it other than a bad dream, sleepwalking, or possibly a ghost. Who really knows? So, for my third and final ghost story of this video, I just want to say that this did not happen to me. I cannot confirm or deny anything that happens in this story. I'm just telling you a story that my coworker told me a few years ago. So a couple of years ago, I was working with one of my coworkers, and it was around Halloween, so we thought, let's bounce some ideas off each other. Let's tell each other some ghost stories and have a little fun while we're working. There was no one else there, so why the hell not? So she started telling me that years and years and years ago, when she was around my age, she moved out of her parents' place, and she rented a room in this very big old house. It turned out that the landlord had bought the place, and he thought, it's so big, he couldn't live there by himself, there's no point, so he may as well rent all the rooms out and make some money off of it. So she was living there with a bunch of other people in all these different rooms, and she thought it was great. She had a job, she was doing her own thing, she was having a great time. But at night, she would hear things. She would hear voices. She couldn't make out what they were saying, just she could hear that they were angry in tone. So she immediately assumed that maybe it was one of the other tenants making an angry phone call in their room, or getting into a fight with someone, arguments. That's immediately what she thought, and she just kind of dismissed it. But as the longer she started living there, the more aggressive it got, and more angry it got. And so she started talking to the other roommates to see, do you have an abusive boyfriend or something? Like, it turns out that no one in this apartment was, getting into arguments or making phone calls that night, and they were all hearing it. They were all hearing these angry voices and things were being moved around in their apartments when they weren't home or while they were asleep. And it got to the point where some people started, packing up and leaving because they couldn't take it. They legitimately thought that there was ghostly activity happening in this place. And it got to the point where it was only my friend and the landlord living in this place. So one day, she had the day off, and the landlord asked, would you mind helping me carry some boxes down into the basement? She said, yeah, no problem. I can help you out for like 20 minutes or whatever, half an hour. So she grabbed a box and she turned the light on to the basement. She started walking down. And as she got past one rafter, the light turned off. So she thought that was weird. So whatever, maybe faulty wiring or something. So she walked back up, flicked the light back on, started going back down. Same spot, the light turned off. Like, okay, I'm not going into this basement in the dark. So she walked up one more time, turned the light back on, started going back down. Same spot, light turned off. So she said, fuck this, and she hauled ass upstairs, and she went to the landlord and said, look, there's something weird going on in this house. I've been hearing things at night. The other tenants who left have been scared shitless, that's why they left, and now there's something going on in this basement. And the landlord sat her down and said, look, I've not been 100% honest with you. When I rented this apartment to you, I did not tell you about the former people who used to own this house. It was a man and a woman, and apparently he was a very abusive drunk. He would get loaded and wail on his wife, and she never did anything about it. But one day he had way too much to drink again, and he started, smacking up his wife, and she finally had enough, and she tried to fight back. He didn't like that one bit, so he grabbed her by the hair, dragged her down to the fucking basement, and then butchered her in the basement with an axe. Then, after he butchered her and he came to his senses and realized what he'd done, he grabbed a length of rope, tied himself a noose, went to the stairs, hung it over a rafter, and then hung himself right then and there. So he butchered his wife, and then he hung himself in the basement. And so it all started clicking to her then, like, I believe that there is something happening here now. It explains the angry voices people have been hearing at night. It explains the lights that are going off that exact spot every time she goes into the basement. And when she told me that story while we were working, it sent a chill up my spine. Unfortunately, I can't confirm or deny it. I'm not going to give any names of the places or the people, but it's just such a scary story. I've been remembering this, and I've been telling people ever since she told me it. It's just so scary. It just freaks me out because it's one of those things I can't give a logical explanation for. Needless to say, after she heard that story, she packed up and got the hell out of there. She doesn't know what happened to the house or the landlord or if anybody else has moved in there. It's just a really weird, creepy story. So, like my past videos, I either do a recommendation or a warning, and this one's kind of half and half. There are aspects of it I really like, and there are aspects of it that I kind of hate. But since I've been talking about my old hometown so much in this video, I thought I would recommend it anyway. The movie is called Werewolf Fever, and this movie was actually made in my hometown. It's an independent werewolf movie. So the acting is iffy. There's some parts of it that are really good, and some parts of it that are really bad. The werewolf itself kind of looks like a Jim Henson's puppet. But overall, it's enjoyable to watch. It's silly. If you don't take yourself too seriously, I think you'll enjoy it. If you can find a copy of this, or if you can find it online, you can check it out if you want, if you like independent movies. So that's my suggestion/warning for this video. So that's it for today's video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of today's video. And definitely, if you have any weird paranormal stories, leave a comment. I love reading those and seeing what you guys have experienced, or seeing if you guys have any videos or pictures or anything. I love that kind of crap. So, thank you very much for watching, and stay spooky.